Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Samir. How are you?
Very good. Welcome to the Leading with Clarity podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor.
Delighted to have you over here. And this is how I start off every conversation. The first one is always the one message that I asked you, which is to synthesize what is leadership to you. And you said it's like planting a seed, a
Yeah.
seed of vision, nurturing it with intention, and creating space for others to grow. When it bears fruit, its impact inspires the next generation to plant their own. Give us a backstory. What made you choose out of everything that you could have said about leadership, you chose to start it off with that, the analogy of a
Mhm.
plant.
So the analogy of the plant, for some reason, ever since I was back in school, right? I admire plants, though I don't have a green hand to take care of a plant, but what I like about it is, basically for you to bear fruits or for you to have fruits, you need to actually plant a seed, take care of it, give the full nutrition. And once it grows and bears fruit or, whatever vegetation, um, and then the rotation that just with this with the change of season or wind, it can actually spread its seeds and grow again, right? So I was stuck to that analogy, and I think about leadership, motherhood, family, friendship, even karma. What you plant, and based on the way how you take care of it and and give the nutrition that is needed is what you will get, and not just a benefit for yourself but the benefit to the people around you, or people might get or learn from it and do the same thing to nurture other people. So that's, I think that analogy is always stuck with me for some reason.
It's a beautiful one. It's a beautiful one for growth as well, right? So plants grow and we grow and leadership grows. But is it
Yes.
something that you see being practiced by people who are in roles in leadership? I'm not
I
saying by leaders, by people who are in roles in leadership.
I would say some yes and some no. I mean, that's the reality of life, right? But for me, um, when I got into a leadership role, that is something I take it very seriously because uh, there was at some point, I was very young when I was given a leadership role and I have to manage people at the age of 23, and the people I'm managing are older than me. I took it so, I was at fear at the beginning, but I took it too seriously and said, in Arabic we say they are amana, which are they are a safekeeping. We need to take care of them. And I think that is where I switch into saying, like, I need to do good. I need to invest in them so that they can invest in themselves and then they can invest in others. So I started practicing, leadership, or the way I see leadership, by looking at books, looking at video, learning from other people that I see around me on how they practice it. And I try to practice it and test it on them. And one day they actually sent me to a leadership course held by the organization. It was for a duration of almost a year, and I was like, oh, it's just you just need to be yourself into managing people. You need to gain trust. That is the most important thing. And leadership not doesn't associate with your position. It actually associate on your persona and how do you inspire others to do certain things.
I love what you said about Amana. I think that's a beautiful definition of being a leader, also, right? I'm really curious right now about what was your childhood like? How did your parents raise you to become the person who was given leadership at the age of 23?
Okay, what's my childhood like? Interesting question. So, as a background, I grew up in a mixed culture at home. So, my mom is from an Asian background and my dad is Emirati. It's really a different perspective how things are looked at from different ways, right? Because my dad is into the legal business while my mom is in the beauty industry. Let's just keep it that way. But because of that Asian mentality. You know, there's certain discipline that we have to do, or there's certain etiquette at home that's the rule you have to follow it. And my dad has nothing to say with it, right? He keeps my mom running the house. And I'm her youngest child, and everyone else were older than me. So I started to adapt certain mindset because there's about 20 years to 15 to 20 years age gap between me and my siblings. Um, One fine day, at the age of 16, I was so bored. So I started looking for a part time job, and my parents didn't know that. I used to get money from the grocery next to the house and use it to get a transportation so I can come to, because I used to live in Sharjah, so I'd go to Dubai, attend certain interviews for part timers. And I started off first as a promoter, where you promote products in malls. I was doing great money, and then one fine day, one of my friend told me, "Hey, there's a company who's looking for a part timer to work in the call center to do some telesales." And I'm like, "Khalas, you know what? I'll be there." I got into that organization, so it's in based in Dubai. I got into the organization, like a teenager when people say just bring your CV with you. So I was seated there waiting for my turn to be called. I see this lady coming in, and she's like, "Hey, welcome on board. Please follow me." I'm like, "Okay." So I followed her, right? And then she made me sit down on a desk, and then she took me through the system. And then back in the days, in Google or all the other technology is not very common. So she gave me the yellow book where it has phone
Yeah.
numbers and stuff. She threw that yellow book on my desk, and she's like, "I need you to call and get people engaged to buy the Festival City property, right?" When it was in the development stage. She was like, "I need you to call people who are earning more than 30K and buy or be interested to buy the properties." Okay. So imagine what does a 16-year-old think? Like 30K, wow, that's a lot of money. Who's earning that? So thank God my mom taught me to use the dictionary because that wasn't taught in school. So I was like, "Okay, go to D, doctor. Call all the doctors on that list." Call all the doctors on that list. And guess what? First month, second month, third month, I hit my target, and I'm earning not less than 5K, right? Five, seven, then I got eight. When I reached the third month, I went to my supervisor. And by the way, she keeps calling me Layla the whole time. So I went to my supervisor. I'm like, Miss, I need to go back to school next week. So she's like, "Layla, what are you talking about?" I was like, uh, "I need to go back to grade 12." She was like, "What do you mean grade 12? You are a full-time employee, Layla. What are you talking about? And not unless you're going to college." I'm like, "No, ma'am. I'm actually 16. I need to go back to my high school and finish it."
Wow.
And then she's like, "Sorry, what do you mean high school? Who are you?"
Huh.
So what I found out later, the real name of the employee who's supposed to join that day, her name is Layla, didn't join. So she assumed I was Layla.
Wow. God's plans are amazing, huh? How he puts things into place for us.
It is. And, I keep getting checks, not checks, sorry. I keep getting some paper. I have no clue what's that paper. I keep getting that paper where I need to put it like in a machine where it stamps your check in, check out. And then every end of the month, I go to the cashier section, and then they count the money and give you in cash. So that was how the salary was paid, right? I have no clue. So I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe they like to use alias names as Layla, and I'm like, yeah, let's just deal with it.
So that's how you started your career. Interesting. What made
Yes.
you, as a 16-year-old, to go looking for a part-time, and uh, what was the desire for that at that point of time? And what did you learn in that process?
I, to be honest, I was just like, another. I mean, many kids, back in the good old days, we have 3 months summer holiday. Like that's usually June to August, right? And we start school in September. I think every so my family are not into traveling, so we don't plan a travel every summer. So I'm usually left at home. Sometimes I get a new pet just to keep me engaged, taking care of a new pet, a cat, a rabbit, whatever. But I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to do something new. I want to get, I want to see people. I want to learn from people. And I didn't tell my parents at the beginning because they're overprotective of me because I'm a diabetic. I'm type 1 diabetes. I had it since I was young. So they're very scared that I might get hurt, depending who the people I go with. So, the typical strict parents. Um, so I had to take the chance and, call up some of my other friends who are based in Dubai. I'm like, hey, do you know any job like I can do? I just want to make some money. Um, and guess what? When I got my first salary, first thing I did is I gave my mom some, and she was like, I thought you were going to this activity institute here. I said, oh no, I was working, ma. Um, then she's like, where do you get that money from? I said, oh, from the supermarket. By the way, this is the money that I owe the supermarket or the grocery store. And this is for you as a gift. And thank you, yani, for not getting angry at me. And she was shocked. And she's like, where did you work? I said, well, to be honest with you, I just want to learn something. I want to see what's out there. I'm really bored at home. Plus, I need to buy my new Vaio laptop because school is coming up. So I think that was the mentality I have, right?
Right.
And then I played a lot with when I was younger. When I used to go out, I enjoy playing with boys. I don't like playing with girls for some reason. I hate Barbie. By the way, I have a fear of doll. So I play with boys, and I think this became like how becoming street smart. You have to think
Mm.
differently. You have to look at different things. Um, you have to come up with a creative response or idea to get away from something or to do something useful. It's up to you if you want to use it in your benefit or
Mm.
against it, right? And for goodwill or bad will. So yeah.
Lovely. Did you having siblings who are 15, 20 years older than you be a reason for that? Did you
I
learn
think
from them?
so.
Did you get inspired from them, or did you find that they were too distant and you had to create your own space? What was that for you? What was the
No,
relationship?
I think I was influenced by them because, my sister from my mom's side, she used to take me with her sometimes at her work event. How did I get into HR that I decided I want to be in HR? Because she used to be in HR. And she used to take me to her office sometimes, and she said, hey, can you just help me out with this, drafting this thing for me? Or, like, I learned Microsoft at a very young age as well, right? So I got a certification using Microsoft. So I started helping her out using that, and then I keep asking her, I said, what is HR to you? She's like, oh, and this is something she said very beautifully. She's like, HR acts like a courtroom for an organization to keep people in check, to make sure that we take care of them and we fight for justice and we
Wow.
make sure that their well being is taken care of. So I'm like,
Mm.
so you're like a courtroom and a welfare ministry. And then she's like, yeah, something like that. So
Beautiful. I mean,
that's what I learned from her.
and that's stuck, and that's the way you have been operating since, I guess.
Yes, and then imagine, yani, I don't go to a kid's party. I go to like, hey, you know what, cousin so and so, it's their birthday, going to a friend to another person's birthday. So I think my friends are people who are my age, are people from school. But then when coming back home, I have all these matured people where I have to, I have to think like them. I have to go with them in certain events that is relevant to their age. And then when I started working, oh my God. All my friends are older than me. And then my first boss, still now, she's a friend. And she's like, be matured. Act like this. Do like this. So I was like, okay, I have to fix in that mentality in my head. Like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to say this. I'm not supposed to say that. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. I still have that notebook when she keeps telling me what to do, right? And I posted it once on LinkedIn and I went back to her. I said, hey, goods. This is the notebook. This is the instruction that you keep telling me to do every day to be the person who I am today.
Mm, lovely. Uh, I have a description of all the jobs that you've taken, and I want to show that to you and everything. And it's all on public domain, so it's nothing, right? And what I want to do is, before I ask the other questions, I want to also say to those who are online that you can post your comments in whichever platform you're in. If you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, put it in the comments, and Michelle will take those questions depending on where we are in the conversation. Michelle, I have looked at your profile and I see at the top of everything you have written, dare to dream, dare to thrive. You could have chosen anything to put up there. You chose that. I'd like you to unpack what that is for you first before I go into the rest.
Okay. See, I'm an ambitious person and I like visuals, so I envision things in front of me, and that's why people keep saying, "I think you're really good at foresight, or you're really good at visualizing and visioning things," right? And this is something that whoever I have managed and I have led in the past, there's a there's a motto I keep telling them: nothing is possible. Go big or go home. Dare to dream, and then dare yourself to strive to reach to that dream.
Hmm.
So that's something I think I hold very passionately in my heart, that nothing is impossible. If I want to make things happen, if I want my dream to come happening, I make it happen so I can feel the sense of fulfillment and thrive in that domain.
What do you think is the reason people don't do it enough that you have to tell it to them, that they don't dare to dream?
See, we're in Dubai or in the UAE, we are in a melting pot of diverse people, different cultural background, right? Some people, in their head, they have, they have certain idea or certain limitation based on their personal experience, that their dream could be simple, and they said, okay, I want to reach this dream. I cannot dream big because it's impossible, because only certain people can reach to that dream. I hate that when I hear it. I manage a team. Uh, as I said, older than me, different nationality, different mentality, different years of experience, and different mindset. I always need to adjust myself to understand their persona, and when I understand what is their vision, what is the goal, I ask them, what stops you? You know, and I'm not undermining any certain caste or culture, but one of them is say, you know, I'm from an Asian background, and my dream is just to build a house in my home country, give food and educate my child, and that's it. I was like, okay, that's amazing, because you are in the parenthood, but then what do you do for yourself? What can make you feel fulfilled and happy that you're doing something for yourself to achieve that dream? How would you thrive? And she's like, I'm from an Asian background. I have my certain limitations. I said, who set that limitation? She said, society. Who cares? I said, who cares? She said, you would not understand because you're Emirati. I said, mind you, do not label people based on their nationality or status. Everyone has their personal experience. You just need someone to push you and support you or back you up to reach where you want to reach. And then, it took us some time. It wasn't an easy icebreaker, but I supported her
Yeah.
along the way, that right now, as we speak, she now owns her own company,
Wow.
right? So I'm proud of her. I'm like, see, you made it happen. And then she keeps telling me, thank you for that push.
I think as leaders, or as people, we all need people who will believe in us, right? And when we have people who champion us, I think that is what will give us the courage to dream. And when
True.
we are not surrounded by people who don't believe in us and who's always questioning us, who's always saying things which are not serving us, and when it keeps happening over and over, and we surround ourselves with people who are negative, then we start not believing in ourselves. So I love what you spoke about, which is um, day to dream is not just about any dream, but for yourself, right?
Yeah.
It is really dare to dream for who you want to become, and dare to thrive for yourself, even while you
Yes.
serve others, even while you do things for others. I
Yes.
was going to ask you, how did you get your first job as a recruitment coordinator? But you have already given me the answer by going with your sister and going to those HR events. You got ignited with her vision. And I see you have stayed with that journey. You stayed with talent acquisition. You stayed with recruitment. And I think you might have been lucky, or you might have been in the right place at the right time. There are a lot of people who kick off their careers not knowing what they want to do, and they end up doing whatever is given to them, and they uh, live a lifetime where they feel they're burning out and they're not thriving because they are in a job that they don't really love. It just pays the bills. What is your advice to people who are in a role or position that is not serving them? And how do
Okay.
you help them navigate that terrain?
All right. Um, you just mentioned, you got into recruitment. Actually, I started off with ABB in marketing. It wasn't recruitment. I was pushed to the recruitment because I think that was the time when there's some certain restriction, not restriction, but certain direction from the ministry to have Emiratis. And I think I was the second or third Emirati of that organization back then. So I got moved to recruitment. And I think I was lucky, yes, and I was honored to be under the management of my previous boss, who actually invested her time to teach me what is recruitment. And then that is what kicked off my career, that right now, very limited amount of Emiratis who actually got an expertise and specialize when it comes to recruitment. Honestly, now I want to be in HR. I want to I want to change my expertise. I want to get into HR, but I get pulled up pulled up into recruitment just because there's a big need, I think, in the organization. You know, unfortunately, they need Emirati to lead the recruitment, especially because they're looking for someone who would be able to attract nationals, right? But my advice is, you when you open my profile, you've seen that probably I've been in an organization 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and sometimes less, and then I have to move to another organization. And I keep saying this in my public speaking session. It's some of them are by choice, some of them are not by choice, because something happened with the business that I need to move out. Now, uh, there's one organization where I really didn't. I wasn't really being myself. Like I just felt um, something wasn't aligned to my values, right? Something was not aligned to my beliefs or my leadership style, what I believe, what is a true culture. Um, and I took a decision saying that, it's a risk. I do have, like anyone else, I do have financial commitment. I do have certain liabilities that I have to fulfill financially. But then, does it serve me if it's affecting my um, insanity, my mental health, my physical health, and it feels like my emotion, like I'm not invested in it. I'm not committed to it. Like I don't want to be that person. Like I just come to the office. Well, I'm Emirati. Khalas, they can pay me. They cannot do anything with me. I'm not that person. I'm a driven and passionate person. Um, so I took a decision to leave the company, even though I don't have a backup plan. And when I go to interviews and when they ask me that question, like, why did you leave if you didn't have a backup? You're risking yourself. I said, because that's not aligned with my value. I believe on something. If I'm not engaged towards it, leave it. Why should I just kill myself for it? Right? Because again, I need to have a good health. I need to give a good mental health for me to be productive. Right? But if that's deteriorated, how I would be productive? Should I just kill myself and call myself a martyr? Wallah, I killed myself to in order to fulfill certain things, but I wasn't happy. That's wrong, right? Because if you go to any leadership training, and I think this is something, or leadership training, and this is something I would like to tell everyone. When you go to a leadership training, when you go to a coaching, when people offer you mentorship, what is the first thing they ask you? Are you happy? Or they focus on investing into understanding yourself, love yourself. Why do now we have so many psychiatrists suddenly in the market? How? Why do suddenly we have so much coach? Because people are reminding us, focus on yourself before you give back to others, right? Your personal status tells you how to, or how positive you are, or how well you are. That's how well back you're going to give back to community. So that was my belief. If something is against my my belief, against my value, that's a big no. People call me, you're egoistic. Yes, I'm egoistic, but if it's not aligned with myself, I'm out. And then another incident also happened where um, um, where I got moved to a different, and I've been in HR, I've been in talent. I got moved to a different domain in such a short time to be in marketing and communication. It was an exciting experience for me. And then COVID hit. Uh, I learned a lot. I love the team that I was working with. They're amazing. Because of them, I also became successful because when I got into that role, I was very honest with the team. I said, "Listen, my background is in HR. I got promoted to this role because the management saw something in me probably I didn't realize, but I'm being honest and I'm being transparent that I have limited knowledge. So I need you to help me, and I can guide you in a different way to help you succeed in other areas that probably that's a gap in you, or probably you're unaware about it. So this is a mutual collaboration between you and me to make this function successful. Alhamdulillah, even though during COVID we're awake 24/7 because we manage customers, we manage clients, we manage everything. Yani we are on the top of our game that time. After that, after spending 2 years and few months, I was like, the thing is, I'm not passionate about this area. I'm just doing something out of curiosity, and I'm learning, but I'm not passionate about it. My passion, that's when I realized my passion is actually HR, not just because the role itself, that's my comfort zone, but then I feel like I can generate more idea, I can give more when I am in HR. Because when
Mm.
I was at marketing, it's more on um, following certain structure, guidelines, certain tonality when it comes to communication, right? And I admire that. But then that's when I learned, when I did that shift, saying that um, I think I'm quite adaptable because I took on the role very quickly. I was put in a COVID situation where I was able to adapt even faster and drive result and achieve result. Now, when I left that organization, my team are my team there were very devastated because they felt like, you owe us. You said you're going to coach us, you're going to help us. I said it doesn't mean that we need to maintain this relationship while I'm still an employee of that organization. We can continue that after I leave, right? Because it's about relationship. Now, again, everyone was surprised. They're like, you left and you didn't find anything? I said, yeah, I need a career break because you need to go back and reflect, and you need to be not distracted when you're reflecting, to identify what you need. So it took me about 5 or 6 months till I landed my next job back into HR. And guess what? Talent acquisition. Um, but that break was necessary to re energize myself and
Mm.
rethink, and also not just for myself, but analyze what does the market think of you. You know, many recruiters, many agencies, when they call me, and there's one agency that it hit me not in a good way. And that particular person said, forget going back to HR. Looking at your CV, you're now a marketeer. You'll never get back to HR. I think that time I was like, you're challenging me. Are you challenging me that I'll not get back to HR? And then she's like, no, but the market will never see you as an HR person. the market will see you as a marketeer. So forget it. I think when she said forget it, that upset me a lot as a candidate. But then I'm like, I'll prove you something. So when I got the job in HR, I got back to her and I'm like, oh wow, I got a job in HR, but this is because it's based on my persistence and how I presented myself to the person to consider me back to HR, because HR is for everyone. It's not just you're wearing an HR hat. You know how to deal with people, you know how to attract talent, then you're in HR regardless what your position is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you started recruiting right from doctors.
Yes, yes. I enjoy it. I don't know why
Yeah.
people, a lot of people feel like they're not enjoying recruitment. I enjoy it because, I always have this moments when you're talking to someone new, a complete stranger, right? I hate, by the way, I look at the CV once and I hate evaluating people based on the CV. I like to talk to them in person and understand who you are. I sometimes ask them questions that they feel off guarded, but then when they're able to answer that, that's when I start to understand their element and their personality. And I think I've interviewed thousands of people, based in the UAE and outside of the country. But it's just a rewarding experience. You get to learn a lot from people, from different nationalities, and I think that is where I feel like it's like my humanity charger, right? Like,
Mm.
oh, there are different people, different mindset, different this, different that. And I got to learn a lot of religions as well, because back in school I only know two religion that exists. I didn't know the other religion exists, right? But then that built me up as a person, and how if I know someone is from this country and they are practicing this religion, for some reason my brain works in a way that automatically I need to shift my language, or I need to be mindful what I say to not offend them, to be respectful of them. And likewise, when managing my own team,
Mm.
I don't say, okay, select all and apply to all whatever I do as a leader. I adjust my leadership based on the individual that I'm dealing with.
Interesting. I will lead that to our to the question that has come from Javed for you.
Hey, Javed, thank you for the question.
So, which is very connected to what you just said. Don't take what I have and start molding each one. But he's asking you a question: what is your recipe or that magic ingredient that every leader needs for leading from the heart? Is there a framework or formula for leading with heart, according to you?
No, it's not, it's not a formula or a recipe. It's just being yourself. And this is where we talk about authenticity. All of us have a heart. We all have one. It's just that, you know, again, I don't know about their upbringing or what culture they come from or what mindset they have about the definition of leadership. But you can always tap in with your heart when you're leading others, because what is the common issue that we face in organization, right? Um, People
So, can I
don't
just,
leave.
before you
Yeah,
answer, can I add something to that? A little
sure.
spin to the question. So, just to build on what Javed is asking, you can lead with the head, or you can lead with the heart, or you can lead with both, right? So,
Yeah.
when you're leading with the head, you become very objective and you don't really uh, get into the emotion or the sympathy or anything. And that's how most organizations and leaders feel like, I cannot bring my heart into the equation of leading people. I have to work with my head and be more analytical about how I approach things. So I think if you're looking at it from that space, Javid's question, uh, what would you say? Because for women, generally, it is more easier than men, I would say. I'm just generalizing again, not true, but you're more connected to the heart. You're more emotional people. Men tend to become more analytical and more structured in their thinking, and therefore there's a lot of conflicts and challenges, which is why I think women are much more better as leaders than men, maybe, right? Unless men are more emotionally connected or leading with the heart. And I've seen great leaders lead with heart. So,
Mm.
from that lens, what would you say to people or managers who aspire to become great leaders? What does leading with the heart mean? And if you say authenticity, being yourself, if their being self is leading with the head, then again they miss out being with the heart.
Mm.
So,
So to answer your question, how you rephrase it, and to answer directly Java's question, there's always a balance. You can lead with both IQ and EQ, right? Your head and your heart. Um, but when it comes to authenticity, and as you mentioned, if you come with authenticity, and if you're leading with your head more, you need to let the people around you know, because people will not even understand that, right? They always, we're always judgmental, regardless what people say. We are always judgmental. We always have that bias triggering behind our head, but we need to make people know. So when, like, if you go back to what I said earlier, when I go to the team, I let them know who I am, what I'm capable to give, right? This is where people would understand that, okay, this is her personality, this is what she can give, and this is what she expects from us. So you need to give that clarity before you decide whether you want to be leading with your head or whether leading with your heart. And by the way, I think you knew this and you've seen this in a lot. I've done multiple MBTI tests and I always ended up as an INTJ. So I usually work with my head and less with my heart. But then people would say, no, but you work with your heart. I said, no, I'm just being authentic. But then when it comes to decision making, I use my brain,
Hmm.
not the heart. So yeah.
Based on what you're sharing, if I were to break down the framework, I would say there are two things, which would be a formula for Javed's question, because he was asking for a formula. So let's give it to him. You know,
Javed.
so the formula is honesty and vulnerability. I think, you put those two into the equation in your conversations with your team members, and that's where you unlock leading with the heart.
Yeah. So vulnerability. So if he wants a framework, I would say first, authenticity. Authenticity is understanding to yourself, not showing to others. It's you being you. And then comes the vulnerability. The third element is communication.
Hmm.
Because sometimes, if you see in any relationship issues, whether it's family, whether it's friendship, whether it's work, a lot of problem comes because communication is not being said or it's not being spoken, or people assume that you know, but people don't know. So for this to work, you need to do the third element, which is communication.
And how does one identify if there is a gap? Because for everyone, there's no one who is not communicating. Everybody's communicating,
Hmm.
right? So what is your suggestion, or what are you saying about communication?
Going back to the formula, people communicate, people can talk, but sometimes they do not talk about their vulnerability, or they don't talk about their authenticity. So you need to be real. So that's the communication that I'm talking about, right? So I'll give you an
And what
example.
is
I'll give you an
okay?
example, live example, right?
Okay.
An employee and a manager, and this always happens when it comes to performance review, right? My manager, okay, an employee said, my manager rated me, let's say the scale is from 1 to 5. My manager rated me 4. How come at the end of the year they rated me 3? Because he said this, and that, right? Let's say that's a final evaluation. Manager comes and say, go to HR because HR decided the evaluation because there is some bell curve that they need to follow. Hmm? HR goes to manager and say, hey, why did you send the employee to us when you have done the rating? It's within your control. Manager says, I'm unable to share that information. But what is the result? HR goes to manager and say, hey, why did you send the employee to us when you have done the
Hello,
rating?
lost you there. Michelle, I think it's a network issue. Meanwhile, we have Arun Natraj Chen, who's shared great insights, great blessing to work in HR as people are the heart of business. Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Nadeem. We'll see if Michelle is able to come back. All right. She's out there, logging back in, hopefully. If you have any questions, any comments, anything that you want to ask Michelle or ask me, this whole podcast is to help managers become better as leaders. If you're a manager who is seeking to become better, this is the podcast to be at. Scan this code. There is a free demo of the clarity gain that I've created. If that is something that you want to explore, happy to come and share that with those who have registered. Let's wait for a minute or two and see if Michelle is able to come back into the session. Oh, there she is.
So sorry.
That's all right. I kept them engaged.
Okay.
So you're talking
So,
about, yeah.
yeah, so going back, so when HR goes back to the manager and said, "Are they worth the performance? Have you done the performance correctly?" And they're like, "Yes, but we couldn't say because of this, because of that." I said, "So why? What's
Hmm.
stopping you? Is there
Yeah.
another person in the team who's doing better?" And then they're like, "Yes." So I said, "Okay, then communicate that." But then that's when people doesn't feel comfortable to communicate the vulnerability or the authentic idea because they have the fear of hurting someone else. This is where issues happen. So I keep telling the manager, instead of it's not about what you say, but sometimes it's about how you say it.
Yeah.
How would you frame that communication for the other person to understand? That's why you need to adjust yourself to the way that individual functions. You do not follow a certain behavior that applies to all. You need to always adjust yourself to the person that you're dealing with in order to get the communication right and straightforward.
Yeah. Uh, I have, we are going to finish out of time, and I want to come up with something over here. Back to your experiences, I have noticed that you have now taken on a lot of roles as on the board of advisors, and I can see how you can be such a great asset to many people around you, many organizations, reflecting on how you're going through these journeys and everything. My question to you is, looking ahead for yourself, what clarity do you carry into the next chapter of your career, your life, or whatever? And what message you would leave with those leading people today?
Okay. Now, this is let's just dissect this question to two areas. Now,
Yes.
what would I carry in my next chapter in my career? Um, and people don't believe me when I say this. They keep saying, "You're still young." I said, "I started young. I've done so many things since I was young until now. What I want to do is give back my knowledge, share what I can share, but also learn from other people in a different setup." That's why you probably saw me right now, very active on LinkedIn, posting different contents that, whatever pops in my head that I feel, oh, I remember this, or this happened. I want to share to the people. And I started doing a keynote, speaking session with different events to share what I know, but also the aftermath by getting to know new people and telling them that, hey, we resonate with your story. That is something I would like to continue further, right? um, because I feel like that's more rewarding for me. When I'm in the corporate world, there's a lot of restrictions that you can't do or say certain things. But now that I'm being myself as an individual who's representing myself, you know, I'm able to give back. And I think because of that, I was able to become board of advisors of so many organizations because they saw something in me that could be an added value to them that maybe I wasn't aware of, right? So I'm still at this learning journey in my chapter. Now, the second question, the message that I would like to leave for people when they're leading people, remember that people are your amanas. They are your safekeeping, right? We like it or not, and a lot of posts that says people at your work are not your family. That's wrong. You spend a lot of hours at work, right? You deal with these people more than that you deal with your families. right? So somewhat they are your responsibility. So do it with intention, to care about your people, to be there for your people, to coach your people. Avoid avoid hurting them or misguiding them or misleading them, right? For a reason. One day these people might be your future boss or your future client or your future partner or your future customer. So like a seed, if you plant the seed with intention, and you take good care of it, it will bear fruits and give back to the community. But if you plant the seed and neglect it, it will also neglect your community as well. It will not feed you.
Beautiful. I wanted to ask another question, but I'm going to pause it over there because you circled it where to we started the conversation from. So beautiful, bringing in the plant analogy. You're a true speaker, I must say, Michelle. And I feel you are someone who has your heart at the right place. The way that you lead, the way that you take care of people, the way you serve with intention, is something that all of us can learn from and all of us can apply. Thank you so much for being on the Leading with Clarity podcast. I look forward to having another one with you shortly when you are going through the next chapter as well. All right.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you for having me, and thank you for also giving me the platform where I can share. I never share my childhood. I didn't expect that question coming, but I think, again, rooting back to the plant. So I think how my parents has actually nurtured and took care of me to be the person who I am today. And I hope that I'm doing the right thing, right? I'm giving my farmers the justice of what they have actually invested in me, and I hope I can give back to the community, um, in the right intention that I want to. So thank you for having me, Samir. Thank you for everyone who's actually watching, and I'm more than happy if someone wants to continue this discussion offline. They can actually reach out to me on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.